We can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you. Can you hear us?
No, you have no sound. And we're live, by the way. That's why you're supposed to join early and we do a sound check, but...
Hello?
Oh,
Hi.
There was no sound. I couldn't hear you.
Well, here you're supposed to join a few minutes early and do sound check, but you don't do that.
Well, because I'm a pro.
I will not say what comes into my head. I will hold back for today, for this minute. So.
Oh, no, I'm a pro.
Just for today.
Pros are right on point, like 7 o'clock, show up. There you go.
I don't think that's how these things are supposed to work, but for everyone who's watching, welcome to Taura Tuesday.
Hello.
Yes,
and
yes.
Tracy joining us today.
Hi.
Representing all the young people.
No
pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No, you speak for all the young people.
I'm gonna do us proud. Young people.
Awesome. So how was the week? Anything eventful happened over the last week? I did want to mention something that we were going to talk about last week, but we got carried away. So
what happened last week?
Well, no, we won't talk about what happened last week because that would start a whole new conversation which we already had. But so the fire in South Africa.
Yeah, Cape Town, eh?
Yeah, not just Cape Town, yes, but UCT as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Yeah, like reactions.
Casey.
Oh no, that's so much pressure. I don't want to start. Obviously reaction is just sending out as much love as possible. And you mentioned, it's UCT. That is a very, I guess, important, I can say, area of South Africa. A lot of people are being affected and like they're unprepared for it too. So yeah, just as much love and support goes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the thing with that is that one of the libraries actually burnt down, which had rare books. Like some were saved, and they had books that were from, I think some of the stuff was from the 1700s, 1800s, from all over Africa. So yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that. Alan, did you have thoughts about that? I know I read a little bit of the articles. I don't know if you guys saw anything different.
I also read something along those lines, and it's like a stab to the heart, because Southern Africa already has I would say a paucity of documents that speak of our history. Southern Africa, we right now, I know there's a lot of effort that has been going on in trying to rediscover some of the history that was told in a way that does not represent us in our true light, and obviously was all told with the lens of those that came to colonize. And so some of these texts and documents would have shed a lot of light in our history, because even as it was written with the colonizers' view at that time, taking that out, there was still a lot of information that spoke of the things that people were doing, the actions, the traditions, even though they were being written in a derogatory way in some manners, but it was traditions that the minute you hear about it, you remember, you understand, and you can see part of the history that connects. So it's, yeah, for me, it was pretty painful. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I think if we don't talk about the news that's going on in Africa, who's going to talk about it? And that was a big thing that happened in our neck of the woods in Southern Africa. So I wanted
It's
to.
a very big thing, I think, because it's not only for Southern Africa. I think it speaks to, because there's a lot of history in Africa that is just lost, or it's so misinterpreted that now when we have access to read it, we can look at those texts back and see the truth of what we are looking for. And in some instances, we didn't have access to reading those texts because, remember, Southern Africa is the last to become free in terms of colonization. So some of these texts we didn't have access to as regularly. I mean, as late as 1980.
Mhm.
Right? We didn't have access to certain documents. You couldn't be in certain spaces. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi,
absolutely.
Jackie, who is watching today. She decided not to join us, but thank you for watching and chatting with us. Hopefully, you will chat with us. So, and we will bring it back to this side of the continent
yeah.
again to a not so fun one. Um, do you want to bring this one up, Alan?
No, you do. It's okay. You go ahead.
So, somewhere really close to here was the White Lives Matter march. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
No, it was flyers that were put out
It was flyers. Yeah, well, for a march to happen.
for a march in
Where? As in somewhere close to here?
New Hamburg, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
So really, really close.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Yeah. I think for those who are watching, who watch us, you probably already know what where we stand on that. But wow, yeah. Casey, as a young person, people don't know your thoughts. What is and you
Like,
this is great. It's like, you know.
I mean, I don't know too much about New Hamburg, but already it seems like a very, to put it bluntly, white town. I don't remember seeing any Black Lives Matter marches, any really large ones happening there. I don't remember seeing any real, it kind of seems like it's out of nowhere. Like, there's never been a big push, never been great, huge rallies and people getting their lives interrupted by things. Like, it kind of just seems like you're just going out of your way to make this point that is
Mhm.
really ignorant. Like, like we know this already, but that's like the only words I can put it in. Because we've done the devil's advocate before. I'm so past that. Those days of devil's advocate and trying to understand that they're
Yeah.
gone in my opinion. I'm not doing that anymore. So yeah, all I can say is just
Mhm.
So
interesting.
that was followed up by an article in the Record, our local newspaper, and a reporter there talking about, maybe we should wait and see if there's really, maybe it was just a prank. Okay. Okay.
I'm just wondering, like, can that defense hold up in court? Sorry, I accidentally stabbed you. Like, it was a prank. It was just a
It was a prank. I didn't. It was a joke.
prank.
Like, as
No,
a society, people with knowledge and understanding of how social interactions work, we know that this isn't a funny joke.
no.
Like, we know this
we
isn't a
should
prank.
we should know that it's not a funny joke, but some of us do, and clearly others don't.
No, I feel like they know. It's an excuse for sure.
I mean, for somebody who's who's writing in a newspaper that represents a region, and the editors are okay with. I know there's all this. There's some point that this free speech stuff. At some point, it's just about being a caring human. At some point, some things you have to realize. White people don't live in a vacuum, you know? And when you think you're doing things that increase your power, your security, unfortunately, that's not the case. Because no matter what you do, we come in. No matter how much
that sounds like a threat.
Exactly. No matter how much you want to put up White Lives Matter stuff, we coming to New Hamburg. We coming all the towns. There's nothing you can do about it. Black people are coming. Indigenous people are coming. Chinese people are coming.
We've already been there.
Eh?
We've already been there.
Yeah, we're already there. So this is a losing fight. To be honest, history is leaving you behind. No matter how hard you fight, we're coming.
Yeah. So, well, we won't spend too much energy on that because it's pretty obvious what the thoughts are on that. I don't know. Did you guys see anything else that I missed over the last week? Even if it's fun, it doesn't have to be.
You see, the only thing that is fun right now is there's something that we don't talk about a lot that we do as bots. We are going to be growing things.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes, the garden's coming up. Planting season.
It's a beautiful time to be outside and planting. Perfect time to get into the idea of growing your own food, of which we do that.
Absolutely. And again, on Africa Day, the weekend of Africa Day, we'll let you know closer to the time. Depending on provincial restrictions, we will have some outdoor planting to commemorate Africa Day. And we'll talk more about Africa Day.
Yes. I mean
on Africa Day.
Is it May yet?
On Sunday, it will be. But this week we also do have something else going on, though.
Yeah,
we do. So, we have a webinar that we're doing in Woolwich.
Yes.
So that's exciting. I mean, we've done a few things in Woolwich.
You are coming.
So sign up. I think the details on our Facebook page or any of our social media platforms. But we'll be doing what we love to do. That's this Thursday, I believe. So, yeah.
I think it will be an awesome time. We'll be having a discussion about our community. We'll be having a get together and talking about the things that we've got in the community and what we're looking forward to having as we move forward together, and how we can bring each other along the path, and also recognizing what exists in our region and from before.
Absolutely. And this one is not so much us just talking at people, but actually having a conversation, which we always really love to do.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah. So today Casey was picking a topic that she wanted. So we get to be surprised and hear what the young people want to talk about.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. I know we've got the young people have a lot of opinions. And I feel like this conversation is like a good base to start off of, because I feel like as young people, we throughout the generations have kind of lost touch with our culture, just through like migration and all of that, trying to fit in, all sorts of things like that. Like we've lost sort of touch with some of the things that you guys may have been really rooted in. And that's not for everyone, but I do notice it for sure. So I wanted to talk about the African versus African American conversation versus Caribbean. Like, I see that riff more and less in like my generation. Some people don't really care at all because they're like, well, we're all living here in Canada. Like, I don't see any difference. Some people care even more because we're looking for a way to connect. And sometimes that's being able to differentiate like which bubble you fit in. Sometimes we push a little too far, but I wanted to hear your opinions because I mean, we have been pushing with Bring on the Sunshine be everyone is African. If you go back far enough, that's where we all come from, right? So hearing your opinions on that would be really cool.
I'm curious, before we answer that, like for your generation, what is the sentiment almost? Is it like, is there a group that discriminates against the other, or is it just people, like what does that look like?
I feel like it's rooted in sometimes it's a little bit of ignorance, and a little bit of propaganda as well. Like if I'm African living in the Western world and all I see and all of my friends see of Africa is starvation, poverty, all of that stuff, like I'm not going to be proud to walk around as an African because I don't want to be associated with that, knowing that that's not who I am.
Right.
Right. And then it also seems like a bit of rejection because, like when a child is like, oh, I never wanted to win that anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a lot of people that didn't experience African culture and that was stripped away from them. Sometimes the reaction is just, oh, well, I didn't want that anyways. It's not cool anyways. And the propaganda on top of that kind of reinforces it. So there's almost like a split.
I'll let you go, Alan, on this one.
Wow. That's why it is very important, I would say, what you just say, why it's very important to take a moment or to take time to understand the history of where one is coming from. And that's why they fight so much. When earlier I was talking about the pain that I felt when I read about that some libraries had been burned down in Cape Town. It's that idea that when you recognize where you're truly coming from, when you realize what brought you to where you are, you take pride in the resilience that got you to the point where you are. And then you take pride in looking back at the people who are still surviving circumstances that, when you think about it, are even beyond imagining. Even when you see pictures of Africa starving, when you see pictures of war and stuff, if you take just a further look, just dig a little deeper, and then you look at who's driving the conflicts and who's gaining from what's going on and who's all getting that. You also not in terms of wanting to ignore it, but you'd want to own it and be like, wait a minute, I want to fight this. It turns you into a revolutionary because you're like, my continent is not poor. So why are my people poor? Something is not right. But again, because like you said, the propaganda and not understanding the history of where one is coming from and how it has been distorted, I can understand it is a pain, right? That the youth are going through. Because when you truly are rooted in your identity, you don't care what anyone says. You don't care if they say you come from a dirty asshole country. You don't care because you're like, I know better, right? Words, I know better. And I know why we are where we are. And I know that, we are young compared to where you are. You are talking 400 years of living a system a certain way and perfecting it. And you're telling us you got out of our way in less than 60 years ago, and you think we should be at the same level that you're at, that took you more than 400 years. That's kind of right. So once you realize some of these things, you don't care. And you can then come together, because whether you're coming from the Caribbean, you're coming from the United States, you're coming from Zimbabwe, from South Africa, the one thing that you can all not deny is the fact that you are discriminated against the very same way as Black people. And that is very important. That's the first coming together point. And then finding the pride in what made one Caribbean and this what made people survive there after the journeys. And then those who stayed in Africa, who survived being decimated right back there while the land was being taken over. So we have all gone through very, very traumatic times. And it is understandable that we're still trying to find each other. Even us as grown-ups, we're still trying to do that, find each other. So you guys, I would not think that you have already figured out when we're still trying to. But the foundation and base of where we need to come from is our understanding our history and where we are coming from.
See, Alan goes into educator mode. So, but I think like on the last part, you touched on really where my reaction is more so that if I, as a parent, don't know where I come from, it's hard for me to teach that. I cannot teach that to my kids. And so this is a story for a lot of us, like my generation, who is the parents of now the youth, right? Where if we're still struggling to reconcile history and what happened on either continent, that stuff is passed on, which is the same way racism is passed on between Black and white people, is passed on between us as Black people. So, so I can understand that the young generation is suffering from it because the older generation is suffering from it too. As at the stage where I'm at, have I felt discriminated against by Caribbeans? Yes. Have I felt discriminated against when by African Americans? Yes, right. And to the point where it was like when I lived in the US, they're African American, but I was less than that. Then I'm wondering, why are you calling yourself African at all if you actually think, as an African who was born and raised there, I am less than you, right? Like if you're going to claim any part of the Africanness, you cannot then go and discriminate on others who are in your lineage or in your tribe, right? So I think it just shows that whole connect that is between us, that we've inherited through the struggle that Alan was talking about in different ways. But most definitely, like it's from the older generation and it's being passed down to the new generation, which is sad. But unfortunately, why we're still having these conversations. And if your generation doesn't learn, then guess what? Your kids' generation will be having the same conversation to say, well, why are we on different levels when we are all basically Africans, right? So, yeah, it's one of those really hard things.
So it doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you've got a black skin, you're an African. You can call yourself anything you want. It's allowed. It's absolutely okay. But you can't arrest the fact that you're still an African. And that's yeah. Even if somebody jumps in there, I don't give a whatever but Africa, I'm not from there. Yeah, you can claim all you want.
But Ellen, are you saying that because you're trying to put yourself at their level if they feel like they're higher than you?
You see, that's the thing about humanness. There are no levels.
No, they're not. But there's certainly some of us who feel like
and that's what
we've been served better.
I'm trying to debunk that and say, we live the spirit of Ubuntu. The individual is important, but the body is more important because it takes care of the individual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Ubuntu says everyone has equal share in the trouble and in the happiness. That's humanness. I cannot see you, right, and think I'm better than you and still think I'm human. That's something we need to really understand. If I'm already putting a level of saying you're less, then what kind of what am I? I'm no longer human, because humanity, once I recognize you as looking like me, then we're the same. There's no difference. Because what drives us, what holds us, what makes us breathe, what makes us all do all this stuff is the same. So it's ignorance. Absolute ignorance.
I think it's also like a little bit of desperation. Like we're all trying to play this game of like, what level are you on? How can I slot myself to be above someone else so I can get ahead? And I think now we're seeing a shift in the last few years where we're like, we don't even want to play the game anymore. Like, we're not trying to win the game. So now we can have more of these conversations. But before, it's like, I'm just desperate to get ahead of someone else so I can maybe possibly win this game.
You see, there's a
But
conflation.
Misery likes company.
Yeah, but there's a conflation slightly that goes on. There's a difference between trying to get ahead because you are looking for material things and you want to live a certain way, and that's the getting ahead that's spoken of in society, like you're making more or you're doing this materialistically. That's a whole different thing. That has nothing to do with humanness. But if you just without all these material trappings look at someone and you think they are not like you, so you are better, then what are you? Because you're not human. We want to know. Because all humans are exactly the same. That's Ubuntu. You are like me.
So I want to throw a question here because, we are talking about the African versus African American versus Caribbean or whatever it is, right? And these are all assumed black people. How do we then, if we're discriminating against each other, how are we even fighting with the white people too? Like, how do we justify that? Does that not just like how does that sit?
it doesn't sit
How do we what?
well.
I said, how does it like? Because if I'm racist against you, Alan, because you're Caribbean or whatever it is, but then at the same time I'm going to yell at white people that they're racist against me, where's the logic?
I feel like it doesn't sit well. We definitely, as a community, struggle with a lot of internalized racism, but we have to look at it once again as this is propaganda that's been fed to us for centuries. Like, this isn't my decision. This isn't what I want. This is what I'm getting fed subconsciously for years since birth. Like, and you can see a lot of bullies have issues with themselves, and that's why they bully other people. A lot of people that you see that everywhere, really. Like when you see issues with colorism, when you see issues with like some people in the diaspora thinking that they're better than others, it's rooted in their hatred of that side of themselves. Like you're saying, how can you call yourself African American if you don't like the African side? Like they don't like the African side, but they can elevate the American side. And I'm saying that as a person because I have an Southern African background, and my parents raised me with that. But living in an American world, in American society, I know that even myself, I left the African part at home when I went to high school in the morning and elevated the American side because that was the one side that I could get ahead in.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's just a cycle that starts from the propaganda we're fed when we're younger, continuing on the rest of life.
That's a very important point I think you just said, and it's definitely worth repeating that, like, you put on the American side, like when you're going for a job interview or going to go in the school space or whatever, because that's the side that gets you ahead. Because I feel like a lot of the times, last year I found myself saying a lot, it's like we're different people. We become different people depending on what space we're in, right? Like it's like Alan would testify to this. Oh, probably you, Casey, too. It's like when I'm talking to people in Zimbabwe, the voice changes, the tone changes. It's like you can tell. Okay, no, she's talking to people in Zimbabwe, and then when I'm talking to when you're on a work call, it sounds different. So you're always like shifting yourself to fit into the space.
Shape shifters.
Every Black person is, though, because the people that we have to be when we're out there is not the people that we are at home, right? So
which begs the question. I'm like, how come we don't win many Oscars? Because Black people were acting all the time.
We're so exhausted in doing it in real life, we don't even see that it's a skill or we could make money off of it.
Yes.
It's an amazing skill because you inhabit so many worlds at the same time, and you give so many faces, and all of it coming back to the fear that people have of the black skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fear that is so irrational, right? It's unbelievable, because when you look at a lot of indicators that people love looking at, numbers and stuff, they show that African kids, when they come here and they're put in school and the stuff, they do exceptionally well. They are pushing up boundaries when put in the right environment and given a space to operate in, and they're exceptionally talented. And if the world is about let's produce and move forward with what's the best we've got, then it's a shame that some would rather keep to mediocrity instead of allowing that which is brilliant to just go ahead and create something that benefits everybody else. It's like, I don't care what color or what size. If you are brilliant and you can do something, I'm like, go ahead, do it, because you're going to create something that makes my life easier.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? Look, it's a lady that did the whole GPS thing. You know how easy it is to get around now? Can you imagine all that? It was maps, but it was a black lady. Imagine
Remember MapQuest?
Yeah. So imagine if somebody had just been like, oh, because this is a black scene, I'm just gonna kill this flame, right? And not even let it. Even if people started thinking selfish thoughts, think selfishly. Be like, okay, I don't like you, but I'm gonna let you succeed because you can't help me. Be wisely selfish, because at the end of the day, you cannot gain. So be nice, because
I have a question. I have a question for Casey, actually, because it comes from something that Alan said, because I think because you went to school in South Africa and then started high school here. What was that journey like? Like, because obviously in South Africa, it's a different atmosphere to being here. Like here, did you feel like you were being pushed to succeed? Like, what do you see as different?
I mean, there's two major differences. The first difference was like academically. School in South Africa was way harder. I learned way more, which is such a common misconception I laugh at all the time, because
Yeah.
most people that went to school in Africa will say that, oh my goodness, it was so much harder. Like I had to do so much more work. I did so many more things. But then the social aspect is living in South Africa, there's definitely racial divide for sure, but you're not taught to be ashamed of your Africanness. You're taught to embrace it and uplift it. Like here, if you're different, it's a thing, which is, I guess, in most high schools, you want to fit in. But you could really see the difference even more, because it was the way that you fit in here is things that fundamentally you couldn't change, like your skin color, your athleticism, your talent. Where back home, it's you fit in with the people that your personality gelled with. But you could really see here, like having a bubble and fitting in a bubble is like the most important thing ever. So being someone that is the odd one out, being South African, of course I wouldn't have a South African bubble in my Kitchener high school. How could I expect that? But that's what you want as a high school student. So you have to then learn to change and conform into whatever you think your most adjustable bubble could be, which I
Do
think
you then
all high
stop
schoolers
saying,
do that.
do you then stop saying I'm from South Africa, or how does that?
Well, I I could be Caribbean passing. Like I don't have an accent.
Yeah,
So I think
this thing. Yeah.
I could be Jamaican if anyone looked at me. I could be Canadian. Like I'm passing as any other Black Canadian student because I don't have an accent. So I guess I didn't really get asked, but it wasn't until I moved to Elmira actually that I realized like, okay, I'm for sure the odd one out because I'm Black. I can't be any less Black over here. Like I'm definitely Black. I can't hide that. So it forced me to embrace it more because I'm like, okay, I can't hide it at all. Well, I mean, I might as well embrace it, but that was an experience that I was very lucky to have. Not a lot of people have the experience of moving to Elmira to force them to embrace their Blackness.
But what I'm hearing though is that for the other, when you were in Kitchener, it was easier because you didn't have to say you were South African. Which, because if you had said that, then it would have been a different experience because then now,
Exactly.
It's those stereotypes that get attached to what does it mean that she's a South African. So very insightful. Thank you for sharing that with everybody who's watching, right?
Yes, absolutely. And you see, these experiences, like for someone like me, for a lot of first generation, I'd say Canadians and Black coming from Africa, we don't know this because we grew up and became adults in Africa. So we did not experience high school. We don't experience some of the discriminations that and the microaggressions that exist in school, and we learn them from our children, right? Which is pretty terrible when you think about it, because they are also trying to figure out like what is this, right? And it's an experience that we're all learning, and now as we go forward, it becomes very important these experiences to then turn around and use them to change things that we have seen in the system to not be very helpful in getting our kids to lead a life that of their choosing, the success of their choosing, not a success that is determined by somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I think I've spoken about this when I've shared how I got involved with Bring On the Sunshine, or how we started Bring On the Sunshine. It's just, like I had been in North America for a while. This discrimination is there. I'm like, this is your issue. I don't really care. I know who I am. This is your issue. Discriminate, whatever. I don't really care. But the moment you have kids and start to see the world through the eyes of your kids and realize that they haven't yet formed who they are, it just kind of changes you as a parent, because now it's like, okay, I was formed and based in Africa, but now I'm here. I somehow have to help the next generation get to where I got to without the supports that I had when I was growing up, right? So, it's like Alan said, it's interesting because we were never, we didn't go through that in high school with a different experience.
We never questioned our Blackness. Actually, it never came up.
Yeah.
It never came up, not one.
Yeah.
Right? So on coming here, and then somebody thinks they can destabilize you by questioning your Blackness. You're like, you must be weird. Because it doesn't even make sense to us. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Like I start now analyzing what you're saying instead. Like where there might be something wrong with you. So for a lot of people, I find they find it disconcerting when they try to be, I guess, racist towards me. Because then I'm looking at them like, "Eh, that's very interesting. So what did you get out of that right now? Just make me understand."
It's their issue for sure.
Yeah, it's like so puzzling for people
Yeah.
because I know exactly and rightly who I am. So whatever word you use at me, to me, I'm thinking like, okay, what's your problem?
Yeah.
Because obviously,
And that's,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, looking at even how young people express their activism, you can see that it's rooted in that because it's like almost a different kind of anger. Like I almost had this taken away from me. Actually, this almost my identity almost was taken away from me for so long that when someone finally is able and feels proud enough to be open, it's like unapologetic and very, very loud because it's like, yo, I couldn't scream this for a very, very long
Yeah.
time. I'm gonna scream it from the top of my lungs now.
And
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact, it makes us so proud when we hear someone
Absolutely.
doing that.
Yes.
It makes us so
Absolutely.
proud. You see,
Well,
because you see, our generation, like my generation, we grew up in Zimbabwe in a time of revolution. So revolution was in the air. There were people singing revolutionary songs. Guns were thing around, and it was about saying, "Hey, we know who we are. We're done. You telling us who you think we are, right?" So I grew up with revolution. I grew up in like you don't bow down to nobody.
I'm sure our viewers are thinking that explains a lot. That explains why you still have the fight in you. So
But because the honest truth is, I believe in everybody's equality. I believe in everybody's right to express themselves and who they are, but respectfully, because I do express myself respectfully. I'm not gonna hold nothing back, but I'll respect you in when we're having that discourse. Because at the end of the day, if you're telling me facts that I cannot deny, then if I keep resisting them and it's bare and it's right there in my face, the reality, then now I have a problem. Because if I'm genuine in believing what I'm believing, but then I'm shown another way, I am quick to say, okay, I was wrong. This is how I. But if I'm not, you're not gonna move me.
yeah. And yeah, no. And this conversation feels a little bit to like a continuation from the private discussion we had at the festival, which I, for one, would still like to do a more extensive continuation of that with the, same panel, different panel, whatever. I think there's so much for us to explore and as we go through that. Do you folks have any final thoughts before we wrap up and say goodnight here?
We'll let our amazing guest.
She'll
No
be back.
pressure,
Maybe
okay.
not next week, but she'll be back again.
Yeah.
What are my final thoughts? Yeah, a lot of the times, your generation can't always recognize the type of struggle that we're going through because it's so foreign and it's hard to see. It's very mental and it's very subconscious. Um, but I see a very huge shift in my generation completely in how proud we are to express ourselves and where we come from. And I think it's like wholly down to what your generation does because we now look back on that and we're like, we have a blueprint that we can go off of and learn from your wins and your mistakes
Yeah.
and just fully be proud of that. So,
Man, that's a happy note to end with. I don't know if we usually end on a happy note, but I'm happy to end on a happy note today because that
Absolutely.
made me feel good. So, all right.
I'm,
So,
I'm happy to end on a happy note. Just knowing that our children, I have. I mean, I know you guys. We've had fights, and then now to hear you guys turn around and be like, you know what, we are embracing who we are, and we are taking it, and we are very militant about it. Yeah, I can go to sleep.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
We know that we can retire.
Oh yes.
Wait, no, we still need you. Wait, not yet.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you, folks, for
gratifying. Thank
watching.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week again on Taura Tuesday.
And see you on Thursday. Let's see you in
Yes,
movie
see you on
town.
Yes.
Thursday. Watch on our Facebook page. We'll have more details.
Okay.
Awesome.